The function of a mentor is to serve as a kind of an exemplar, kind of a model of appropriate behavior. I would have to say my primary heroine, of course, is my wife, Dee Granholm, and I also look upon my 3 sons, their wives and their grandchildren as models or perhaps heroes of mine as well. When I used to do research at the University of Minnesota, I worked with a clinician there, and he was a superb molecular biologist as well as an excellent physician. He taught me a whole series of techniques on how to conduct biological assays on variables important to pigment cell biology, which were important to concepts of melanomas, what causes melanomas, and how they can be treated and cured. One day I went to see this clinician and arrived at his office, and I went into his office and I found him crying. And I said, "What is the problem?" And he said, "I've had this patient now for 30 years and she died." So now there was an example of a mentor that not only was superb in the laboratory, but also an excellent physician and a caring human being. One of my other mentors, Dr. Joseph Pellegrino at Georgetown University, told us once, when you're in the operating room, you have to make a decision. You don't have time to have these long, protracted ethical debates about what's right. So one has to appreciate both the theory as well as the practice. Well, let's take a look at General Petraeus, for example. Up until his recent indiscretion, he was very much of an excellent model, looked upon by all military personnel and many others as, one might say, an epitome of what it is to be a general, a military person, a warrior. During the course of his activity with his interviewer, he made had a moral lapse. On the news this morning it said his moorings came loose. Now, we as the public have to consider whether or not we would be willing to forgive him for his moral lapse. Now, the question is, how many of us are perfect human beings? How many of us make mistakes? Perhaps not as egregious as that mistake, but perhaps even more egregious in some instances. And so we all have to look upon ourselves as considering the possibility of forgiving people for what they've done and giving them another chance. Physicians do have perhaps a greater responsibility than the average citizen to conduct themselves in ways which are appropriate not only to their profession, but to their own personal moral compass and to what they think is the appropriate way for people to behave and to be moral actors in their occupation and in their lives. Another thing that I find particularly intriguing is for those people who have virtually no social stability as children growing up, yet somehow they become hugely successful and they become willing to donate a lot of their resources to help other people. And invariably, somewhere along the line, they have a mentor. They have a teacher, a clergyman, a friend, an adult of some kind who takes them under their wing and just provides a little bit of stability. It doesn't take a whole lot, but it requires a little bit. And those people who come from nothing and are hugely successful and donate to the world are my real heroes.